I mean, when you think of Magneto, you think of red and purple, because, you know, he owns that color scheme. Like, those are his colors, and they're done okay here. I feel like something about the shade of purple is not my favorite, but, you know, all in all, it's alright. This one's really weird, because at first I didn't really know what to make of it, but the more I take it in, the more I think I like it. The kind of greenish teal for the cape plays really well with the kind of, like, purpled up red on his body. And it's kind of like a more gloomy, sort of bluish color set for him. And I don't know, it makes him look a little more menacing. I kind of like that. This one is sort of a rehash of the first color, but they've darkened up the purple, and it really helps out a lot, I think, alleviate what my problem with the default color was. And it's just that the light colors make him read more like a hero, almost, and when you darken up the purple, it gives him a little more like menace. It's pretty good. I like seeing Magneto in blue. I think it's a nice color scheme for him, and when I think of Marvel 2 Magneto, this is usually the color I imagine, for some reason, I don't know, but it's a good one. I really like this one. It gives him kind of like a cosmic quality, making him purple and teal like this, but nonetheless, very fucking cool looking. This red and black one is pretty cool, but it almost feels like out of character. It's like a little too sinister for Magneto. I know, pick a lane, right? I'm sitting on the fence between menace and no menace here, but this is too much menace, but it's a good color. I think I'm feeling B tier for Magneto. The stuff that I like a lot, and the stuff that I'm lukewarm on is like totally fine to good, so B feels right. Oh boy, Marrow. Don't even lie to me. None of you fuckers know who this even is, okay? If it wasn't for this game, I wouldn't either, but, you know, I like her color scheme. It reminds me of toothpaste. It got the teal and the blue. I don't know why. It's like Colgate or something. But for, like, a weird sewer lady that has bones springing out of her back, I think that's a good pick. This more light purple one is really nice. It kind of sits a little more cleanly with the blue. Not that I dislike the teal, but this is a little more uniform in a way that is more appealing to me. I like it. The black and purple were really good choices for her. I feel like the black kind of accentuates the like morally gray nature of her character, and the purple gives her kind of a weird factor. And it comes together better to sell sort of the essence of her being this weird, like... I think in the comics she's sort of like an anti-hero. I don't think she's totally a good guy at first or whatever. So I feel like... I mean, even just based on her, the way she's standing and stuff, that's kind of like the visual language of the character. And I think this color scheme sells it even better than the first two. A lot of times I like color schemes like this where they take the two primary colors of a character and they flip them so you can kind of get this weird inverted version of the character. And it doesn't look bad on Marrow at all. I actually maybe even prefer this, but you do gotta admit she kind of looks like she's wearing scuba gear. This one's easily my favorite. The garish neon colors suit her great, and I love that they made her hair this like obnoxious pink. Overall, the sickly green, the weird purple, it fits her great. It's probably the best one. This purple one is okay, but it kind of feels like we've ran out of steam at this point arranging these like couple colors around. And I do like the neon orange to the hair. I don't think this is bad or anything, but it feels a little underwhelming maybe compared to the last one, but overall it's alright. I think I'm also going to have to put Marrow in B. You know, none of her colors are bad at all. They're all pretty good, but none of them really, like, you know, razzle my dazzle, you know? Wow, it's Mega Man, the blue bomber, and they made him blue, and, you know, that is what he looks like, so, you know, A+ there for accuracy. Look, what can I say? You turn it green, and I like it a little more. This isn't a bad color by any means. I kind of like this one, but as far as what it's based on, I don't know. Mega Man's been green a bunch of times. You know, I'm sure somebody will tell me specifically what this green on light green is based on, but as far as I could tell, I don't know. I actually think he looks really good in this cool gray color, and I think a lot of that comes down to the kind of subtle blue they used for the gray on his like boots and gloves, and then the more kind of like warmer color they used for like the whitish kind of gray of his like bodysuit. It looks nice, and I'm pretty sure it's based on like Cutman's power from the first Mega Man, but again, he's been gray a shitload of times, so I don't know. I like this red and pink one. It has a nice contrast between the two colors. I'm not exactly sure what it's based on, though. It could be based on his dog, Rush, or like the Rush jet and the platform and that other shit that I can't remember what it's called. The 1, 2, and 3, or maybe some other powers where he's been red. I think like Quick Boomerang, he's like pink or something. I don't know. Looks pretty good, though. You know, one of them was bound to be red, right? I like this one a lot. The pale yellow and the nice orange on his gloves and helmet and stuff. It gives him a real like warm, sunny kind of appearance, and I don't know if he's ever worn anything like this in his games. I think like Metal Man's kind of yellowish, but it's not really warm and bright like this, but this one's nice. This one's cool in that it's not monochromatic. You got two different colors on Mega Man. You got the Mick Mega Man look with the red and yellow. I actually think it's based on Flame Man from the first game, but it's a pretty good look there, and it's a good look here too. Overall, though, I feel very little towards Mega Man and his colors in this game, so C is where he goes. Just start out by saying Morgan's default color is like one of the best colors there is. The mint green and the kind of plum pinkish color and the black is unique to Morgan. I don't know of anything else that rocks this particular kind of wheel of colors. And it's great. It's cute, it's kind of sexy, it's kind of monsterish. It fits her personality perfectly. That said, though, Morgan is a hard character to make colors for because all her colors are throughout her entire sprite. So if you ever tried to make a custom color for her in like CVS2 or something, you'll know that you start messing with like her tights and her face and her arms start changing color. You mess with her skin tone and parts of her like boots and shit start changing color. It's all interconnected, so you're sort of limited in what you could do. Which means a lot of the colors in this game sort of live around the same sort of shades. But anyways, this purple and pink one is pretty decent. I don't love it exactly because of the kind of like the washout on like her little head wings and her bat wings. There's less of a contrast with the purple on purple, but it's pretty good overall. I like this red one a lot. I think it's supposed to be based on Lilith, who's another character from Darkstalkers that's sort of based on Morgan's sprite, and also based on Morgan as a character, but I'm not getting into that shit. This one's distinct enough to kind of be its own thing anyway, and I think the kind of bluish color they added to her tights really contrasts nicely against the hot red and pink of her hair. And overall, this is a great color. This is Morgan's alternate color from Marvel 1, and I never really liked it then, and I don't like it now. It's okay, but it just kind of feels like a downgrade in general. Blonde is an obvious color to make her. I don't hate that part, but I don't know. I don't really hate any of it. I just don't like it that much. It's just a more pedestrian, kind of mundane Morgan that you'd see at a dive bar. See, and here's the proof. Here's the blonde one done much better. I think the purple is a way better color. It bounces off her blonde hair nicely. And then the color they've gone with for her like arm things and her leggings looks more like a natural like nylon color, and it's good. Ties it all together real well. I like this one a lot. This is like Valentine's Day Morgan or something with the red and pink here. I like the kind of like peachier yellow color they went with for the hair, and overall it's nice. It's kind of a bright color scheme for her, which sets it apart, and it looks good. I think I'm going to put Morgan in B because all the colors are pretty good, and some of them are very good, so, you know, it feels like it equates out to a B to me. Oh boy, it's Omega Red, and yeah, they sure took that literally. Most of these colors involve red. But starting off with his default one here, this is a good one. I like the red and gray. The blonde hair kind of makes his head stand out nicely from the rest of his body, and, you know, he's Omega Red. I could do the Colossus bit here and be like, oh, what's the difference? But, you know, whatever, fuck it. You know, they made his skin a little more green and his hair a little more, like, grayish. It's still yellow, but it's kind of, like, paler. Kind of just makes him look like a zombified version of Omega Red. It's fine. I don't know. It's whatever. Omega Red has blue himself, I see. I don't know. I feel nothing towards this. It's the Colossus rehash. It's the same fucking slight variations on red, you know? This one looks great, and they kept it red, even though it's more like a magenta now. But I love how they switched the yellow on his hair and the gray on his skin, and now you got like gold armor and stuff and this cool like silver hair on his head. You know, that's a great color. This one isn't the most drastic of changes, but I could respect it. You know, giving him the silver hair on the, like, silver arms and armor. It's a little monochromatic, but it kind of works in his case. I'll let it slide. It's okay. Look, let's not beat around the bush. This is Hot Dog Omega Red. I could talk about the merits of the colors or whatever, but, like, you know, he's a hot dog, so it's all out the window. The one where he's got the silver hair and the gold armor and the kind of magenta shit, that one's really good, and it does do a lot of pulling, but I don't know if it's enough to lift it up out of D tier, but he's like at the top of D tier. He was so close to C tier, but that's where Omega Red lives. Oh man, Psylocke, for such good sprites, they sure didn't give her great colors, but her default kind of dark purple, fucking classic. This shit's great. This pink one is pretty good, and it's nice to see her in something a little more vibrant because most of her colors are kind of in a darker shade. So get some plus points for that, I guess. Well, Psylocke got a tan. I don't necessarily like the blue on this one, though. I think it's something with the lighter color they chose. Nah, maybe it's the darker color. Something about them together it makes her feel flatter than she's supposed to look or something. This one might be my favorite. I love the black suit. It's her alt from Marvel Superheroes, and I always picked it because it changes her pink-ish colored psi energy shit to yellow, and that contrasts real nicely against the black suit. You know, sets this color apart. I guess some of the other colors do that. They change the color, but I just like it in particular on this one a lot. This one isn't too different from the others, but it's a nice, mature shade of purple that looks good on her, and I don't think anybody in the cast has anything quite like this one, so it stands out in a way. This just feels like a better executed version of the other blue costume. This is a much nicer, deeper shade of blue. I feel like it really shows off the depth thing I was talking about. She feels a lot more three-dimensional in this color, but other than that, it's a nice shade of blue on her. I like it. Psylocke kind of just stays in her wheelhouse of colors, and nothing really stands out. It's kind of all just expected. Nothing's really terrible either, but it's all just whatever, so C is where she's gonna go. Rogue is kind of an odd case, you know. I like the way that they drew her, but I don't like what they did with her colors in this game. And if you don't know what I mean, she debuted in X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and in that game, her colors are yellow and green, and her jacket is brown. But for some reason in this game, they changed the jacket to match the color of her undersuit for all her colors, and it just, I don't know, it looks fucked up to me. It really sours the whole thing. But this default one, the green and silver, this is some look that she had in the 2000s or something. Not like this look with the jacket, but she was wearing green and silver, and I think they didn't want to redraw her. So that's why they colored the coat in to just kind of bullshit it and be like, see, it's that costume. But jacket problem aside, on its own merits, it is a nice shade of silver and a good shade of green. They look well together. They suit Rogue well. You know, it feels like some colors that represent her, and, you know, her status is sort of a villain turned hero, which is, I believe, what her origin story is. Regardless, it's alright. This is actually already a huge improvement for me, and weirdly it comes down to believability, I guess. I do believe that there would be a black leather jacket that Rogue would wear, you know, and that her bodysuit being black is just a coincidence, and it kind of sells this outfit a little more to me. Other than that, though, the black on gray is cool, and I like that they replaced the red little X-Men logos with pink. It's kind of a fun twist. This one's, it's pretty good. This blue one's kind of a weird color for Rogue. I don't know if she ever did wear blue, but I kind of like it on her. It's a little strange seeing her in the default X-Men colors. And even the jacket, you know what, it gets a pass from me. I could buy that that's a denim jacket on her. It's a little strange still, but this one's okay too. This one's uncanny, right? It's not just me. You look at it and you're like, hey, huh? And it's because the jacket's not brown. It's like she's classic Rogue. Everything's there. Well, she's got a green rubber jacket on, and it's weird. I mean, the colors are nice, but the fucking jacket, man. This teal one is pretty bold, even if it is kind of adjacent to green. It's really vibrant, the most vibrant color she has, and I like it, but again, the jacket makes it feel weird. I mean, if that jacket was white, this color would look incredible. In fact, if all the jackets were different colors, Rogue would be an entirely different tier. And to prove it, I'll edit some of her colors right now and put them on screen. But since that is not the world we live in, and we live in the world where she has a fucked up jacket, I'm gonna put her in D just for that alone. Look, I like Roll as much as the next guy. I think she's a funny inclusion. She's a good support character in Mega Man, but as far as her colors go, you know, the default one's got a nice layout to it. The white cuffs and collar and the black sleeves stand out well against her red dress and shoes. And the green bow, you got some nice, you know, opposite complementary color shit going on there. I mean, she looks exactly like what she should look like, I guess. And, you know, it's not bad. This one's pretty nice. I like the kind of pink thing going on. They got that real light pink and kind of these darker shades, and then the red bow. Feels a little more girly and cute than the default one does, and I think it's a good option to have for a character like Roll. This one too is not bad. It could be a reference to Mega Man, or it could just be a blue color scheme, and something about the kind of navy denim blue on the sleeves and then the blue on the rest, it makes it feel like a school uniform or something to me, which is kind of a nice angle to have for Roll. It's a pretty good color. This black one, I'm pretty sure, is her alt from Marvel 1. If it's not exactly the same, the only difference would be the green bow, and that's actually the detail I like the most about this one. The blonde hair and the green bow really make this kind of gray and black color scheme pop for me, and it actually, you know, takes what could have been fairly boring and makes it pretty nice. This white one I actually really like a lot. It feels kind of futuristic-y in a way where it's like, you know, not like current day Apple, but like how people saw Apple like 10 years ago, like if they made roll, you know, all sleek and white with like little bits of blue. It makes her feel more like a futuristic robot to me, although I don't know if that was the intention, but that's how it reads. It might be my favorite, honestly. This one, they just decided to use the default colors from Microsoft Paint or something, and it's kind of a fucking mess. But in some weird way, it all comes back around, and I kind of love it. It's just so bizarre and different from anything that she has, or maybe even should have, that it, you know, you're never going to forget this role. This will stick in your mind if nothing else, for better or for worse. I think I'm going to put roll right here in C. You know, none of her colors are, like, bad necessarily, but nothing jumps out at me. It just kind of leaves me feeling a big old meh overall, so... I really like Ruby as a character. I think her moveset's really cool, her design is really cool, and the colors they chose really accentuate kind of what she's all about. This kind of darker teal, kind of navy blue sort of mix for her coat and pants, and then this brown that's got a nice kind of reddish color to it. Contrasts really nicely against that. And then you got this nice like burnt orange on the crest of her hat and on her belt. And they're really subtle kind of rustic colors for a game like Marvel vs. Capcom. And that's perfect for selling her as this kind of worldly pirate woman. And I think that they did a great job. These are great colors. This one could have easily been shitty, but I actually really like it. It's kind of like a sepia thing, which again fits the old-timey sort of pirate vibe. But with the yellow shirt, the pale yellow undershirt, and the kind of like light pink hair, it gives it just enough visual variety and intrigue to keep it from being just a bland brown outfit. And I think it actually looks really good on her. You know, usually I like the green ones better, but I feel like this one is just alright. There's nothing wrong with it or anything. It's an okay shade of green, but something about it feels kind of similar to the default, I guess, and it makes me look at it like one of those weird early gen shiny Pokemon where it's like just a little bit greener than the normal one, and you're like, that's kind of weird. I mean, it's not a bad color by any means. I don't know. I'm not really feeling it a ton. I mean, geez, I was complaining about the green one, but this one is really, really similar to the default, and I actually think it's just kind of worse overall. I mean, the biggest difference is that the shade of blue is more blue than teal now for her overcoat and stuff, which is a cool choice, but I don't know, making her undershirt like a cyan and making her hair like a weird gray pink, it just kind of detracts from the overall color scheme for me. Maybe if they changed the orange on the hat and the belt to something else, it could have sold it to me, or made the boots gray or something. I'm not sure. I don't know. In my head, I like the idea of a yellow costume, but in execution here, it just feels like a more boring version of the brown one. I mean, here, her hair and her undershirt are almost the exact same color, and I don't like this shade of kind of yellowy brown, kind of gold they got going on here. Like, it's okay, but eh. I actually really like this purplish one here. It feels like Halloween Ruby Heart or something. She's got that vibrant orange hair, which is pretty stark among the colors she has, and the grayish kind of purple coat is cool and gloomy. Kind of gives her a more villainous kind of appearance or something, which is fun. One of the better ones for sure. Most of, if not all of Ruby's colors are just serviceable to decent, and I feel like that just kind of winds you up in C for me, so that's where she's going. It's a little hard to talk about Ryu in this sense, because he's sort of like the Mario of fighting games, you know? He's almost more like a symbol than he is a character at this point. And yeah, you know, originator of the ripped-off sleeves karate gi look that itself was ripped off a million billion times in other games and series and things, parodied to death, you know. But as far as Ryu, you know, it's like looking at Mickey Mouse or something. I've seen it a million times. It doesn't exactly do anything for me, but it's like vanilla ice cream, you know? It's the default for a reason. You know, that said, though, I will be ranking this one. This one's just stinky Ryu. He just didn't do his laundry. And, you know, I wish there was a different color here than just a slightly different off-white. Wow, look at that. Completion of the story arc. Ryu has now washed his laundry. This is fresh linens Ryu. And yes, it's another color that's just a slight variant on white, but I do like this one a little more because it's sort of a bluish gray, and it kind of takes him into the cooler color palette here, which is at least something. I mean, I get that they reused this body 4 times in this game, and they had to make 24 colors, so maybe Ryu kind of got stuck with the short end of the stick on some of them, but like, I don't know, man, come on. Oh, fucking finally, some variety, and it's magenta of all colors, which is a little flashy for Ryu, but also Ken already has this color, so if there was a problem of overlap, and that's why they gave him 3 whites, then what's this doing here? But regardless, I wish the gloves weren't red. I feel like any other color would be more interesting, like blue or yellow or some shit. Other than that, though, it's a breath of fresh air to see something other than white. We got Surgeon Ryu here in his medical scrubs. I actually really do like this teal color. And look, they changed the gloves to a yellow. I do wish it was kind of a lighter yellow or paler or something. I don't exactly like this shade of yellow, but I'm not going to be a choosy beggar here in this drought of colors that is Ryu. This one is easily the best one for me. It feels like an allusion to Evil Ryu, but it's not quite the same colors. He's got a dark green gi on, and it looks really sharp against the like maroon colored gloves and his kind of reddish brown hair. It's a cool take on kind of the Evil Ryu concept without doing it one-to-one, and it's pretty good. I'm putting Ryu in D just for blandness alone. You know, half his colors are just variants on white. I mean, if you're going to do that, at least change his gloves or his hair or something. I don't know. It's just a little too boring to me, which, you know, maybe you could argue is Ryu's whole persona. He's Mr. Boring, but I don't know. Fuck him. I was not the biggest fan of Sabretooth until I made this video and I messed around with him, and now I kind of appreciate what he can do. But as far as his colors go, I love the shade of browns they went with. They're kind of reddish and they're very vibrant for a brown color, and they almost stand out more than the yellow, which is kind of more subtle for a yellow in these kind of games. And it's all broken up by that nice white plume, and it makes him look very bestial and like a supervillain. I think they did a great job with him. This one isn't too crazy of a change. They've basically just replaced the brown with kind of a gray color, and the plume is now like a little more tan. But it makes him feel colder, and I feel like it brings out the like kind of stalking nature of like large cats, which is what Sabretooth is kind of loosely based on, like a saber-toothed tiger, I guess. But yellow and black, it still kind of feels like it lives in that wheelhouse of like large predatory like cats or whatever. And I think it looks good on him. This one kind of just looks like a washed out version of the default, which isn't ugly or anything. It looks nice on the eyes, but it's just kind of not exciting because it's like a rehash of a color we've already seen. So, I feel very here nor there on it. This is his alt from X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and I don't know if it's a reference or what, but you gotta admit, these are some wild-ass colors for Sabretooth. He kinda looks like a Yeti or something. Regardless, it's probably his best color, and probably one of the best colors in the game. It's just so interesting and unique, and you would not expect to see this shit on Sabretooth. This is the John Deere Sabretooth color, and I actually really like this one, even though green is a strange choice for a character like Sabretooth. It feels more reptilian or something to me than like the kind of mammal-type animals that Sabretooth normally would be associated with. But, you know, something about the way he's drawn in this color of green, he looks kind of like the creature from the Black Lagoon, like a fish man, and that's kind of good. I like that. This one just feels like a better version of the yellow and black color. I like how the plume is like a more stark shade of white as opposed to the more off yellowy kind of color on that one. And the kind of darker orange color I feel like suits him a lot better than the yellow. Kind of reads more like a villain than like a construction worker, but this one's pretty good. I like it. I mean, I'm even a little surprised at myself, but I think deep down in my heart when I search, I want to put Sabretooth in A. And there's a couple colors that I'm not like too thrilled on, like the kind of like more washed out one, and then the yellow and black one, the like lighter yellow. They're like okay, but you know, the ones that are good are so fucking good that I feel like it transcends and he lives in A. I'll be honest, I feel very little one way or the other about Sakura. I think the part I like about her the best is maybe her haircut. Other than that, you know, it's like a schoolgirl uniform. Those are the colors. It looks, you know, it's not like she looks bad or anything. I think she's a good-looking sprite, and I like her animations and stuff. But as a character, I don't know. But as a color, you know, it's all right. It's good. Usually I don't like colors where they sort of take away color variety and they make two of the colors like the same color, which they've done here. The shoes and the gloves are white, just like her shirt and her headband. But the headband and the shirt are kind of like this off-green white, and the gloves and the boots are like a yellow, and they contrast nicely. They play off the teal good. The yellow is a nice like focal point in the center from her little ascot thing, and I think this looks better than the default. This one's just okay. I like the idea, the colors they're messing with here, but I feel like the way it's laid out and the shades they've gone with, it kind of just feels like wrong in some way. And maybe it's that the yellow is too bright? I think that is what it is. It's okay-ish, I don't know. This darker one is really nice. The black skirt plays well with the purple and stuff, and the pink is a nice, like, bright color to kind of draw your eye towards the center of her. It has a good balance to it, and I think it looks like appropriate. It doesn't look all weird and fucked up like that blue and pink one. I really like this one. The pink and the red and the yellow, it's very vibrant and reminds me of cinnamon gum, which I do like. If I played Sakura, you know, I'd probably pick this one. Now, but what I think I like about it the most is that they've kind of put the colors onto her body and away from her gloves and boots, like how some of the other colors are. Like that one where she had yellow gloves, that was a very like focal part of it, was the bright ass yellow gloves. But this one, all the color is in her center on her shirt and dress, and I think it kind of makes her read a different way, and it kind of like changes the way your eyes interpret the character for the better. This one seems to be deliberately like a sepia tone version of Sakura, which, if that's some kind of reference or like trope or something, I don't understand. Like, fair enough, I guess. But as a color on its own, it's just okay. It's a little understated and boring, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because it does stand out from the others, you know, on those merits. I think Sakura has enough nice to good colors and ones that I like to elevate her to the B position, which, you know, for a character I don't really feel much about, I liked her colors surprisingly more than I thought I would. Oh shit, the big man himself. Marvel Sentinel is kind of his own thing. Comic Sentinels are like these weird big dorks, but they had to draw Sentinel differently, I assume, because he was a fucking huge sprite, and segmenting him into these robot parts was probably a lot easier than trying to make him look like a dude. But regardless, I like Marvel Sentinel. He's iconic. He's probably one of the most famous characters from this game, of course. As for his colors, though, I really like how pale they went with his color scheme, you know, especially for like an evil jobber type character. That's a very, very bright, like almost sky blue, and a very pale purple. And they come together to make him look like he is like this advanced technology. He looks like a Super Nintendo boss or something. He's very striking, and he stands out from the cast visually because of this color scheme, and I think it's great. As cool as the default is, this one blows that shit way out of the water. The purple on purple, you got the Raw Dog Barney the Dinosaur purple, and then this nice, like, cool blue purple. He looks crazy, and I don't know, this might be my favorite. Aw, man, but this one's so good, too. The magenta and purple, he almost looks like Onslaught a little bit, or he reminds me of Magneto, kind of, with this color scheme, but, like, making it magenta is perfect. He looks fucking great. Is this my favorite? This one is a very desaturated take on the default, and for some characters I would like that a lot less. I'm not necessarily blown away by it here, but for a character like Sentinel, I feel like making him more desaturated and gray kind of fits his like cold machine nature, and I'll give it a pass. And also, they made his eyes orange, and that's kind of unique for him, so, you know, I'll give it points for that. Of course, the all-black costume is cool, and it's because it's done well that I like it. If you look at it, you'll notice that the like body portion of the black has just the slightest green tinge to it, and his arms and his shoulders and his boots, that black, has just the hint of kind of a red to it. And it makes them contrast against each other really nicely, and for this monochromatic black color scheme, it actually has a lot of visual depth, and it keeps him from looking like just a big like black blob of shit. And as an extra bonus, he's got green eyes, which is, you know, it just feels like that should be the color for the all-black costume. But this one's really good, and probably, you know, if you think about Marvel 2 Sentinel, this might be one of the colors that immediately pops into your mind. I feel like everybody picks this one, and for good reason. It looks cool. This one is another variant on the default, and I'm going to dock points here because I feel like this one works the least of them all. The dark blue color is really, really nice on him. I actually like it a ton, but I don't like the pale purple with it. I wish it was something else there. It was so close to being great. Overall, I wanted to put Sentinel in S tier, which, is funny because that's where he already is. But I think I'm going to dock it down to A just for the repeats and stuff. Even though they're not, like, bad by any means, they just kind of detract from what could have been something better. Just imagine if that last one was actually Mango Sentinel, if that was actually real. I'm sorry, if you didn't know that, but, Mango Sentinel's not real. He never existed, okay? I'm sorry to have to tell you this way. Surfbot's a funny little dude. I always liked him. Not so much to fight, but, it's fun to troll people with him. I always wondered if they had an odd number of characters near the end of the game and they were just like, shit, we're not going to be able to make the character select screen perfectly geometrical. Like, what do we do? And they just figured, like, well, we already drew Surfbot for Tronbon's character. Like, let's just make him his own little thing. And then they did. Wouldn't surprise me if that's what happened, but as far as his default colors, it's perfect. He's a little blue Lego man. He's cute. I like him. I like all the pink colors, and Surfbot's no exception. He looks funny and good in pink. Seems like a fitting color for him. Kind of reminds me of the little pieces on the Game of Life for some reason. You got the blue one and the pink one. Now I'm imagining two little Surfbots in the little van cruising around the board. I don't know why, but this one always makes me think that Surfbot's a vampire. It's something about the skin tone and the red clothes, I guess. I don't know. Something about him feels vampiric, and in my head, it just doesn't fit with Surfbot. It's weird. It's strange. I don't know. He looks weird. I don't know. Fuck him. Get him out of here. This one's not too flashy or anything. Going from blue to black is pretty common, I guess, for these alt colors, but Surfbot looks A-okay in black, almost like a little police officer or something. I think in theory, teal's a great color choice for Surfbot, but in execution, they kind of went with something a little too desaturated for my tastes. The cyan shoulder bits are kind of cute, but I don't like the main color of his body. It's just a little too gray. It's okay, but it's not that good. This purple one's kind of interesting. It's not my favorite necessarily, but I do think it has some qualities that I like. The shade of purple they went with is really, really good on the body, and the lighter shade too. It's mostly just the yellow skin tone that they've changed into a weird pink I'm not super sure about. Not that it looks bad, but it just kind of makes him feel more like he was dunked in something purple than he's actually that color to me, if that makes sense. Honestly, I think I'm gonna put Surfbot in D tier, and it's not that he looks terrible or anything, but none of the colors really rise past his default for me. And it's probably that his design is so strong that he kind of overshadows any of the colors that they gave him. They kept it relatively safe. And maybe something more crazy on him would have been more interesting, and I would have put him higher. But as it stands, it's just kind of a bunch of underwhelming choices, I feel. Shuma is a weird character in that, if I'm not mistaken, his name literally appears in a Lovecraft or Lovecraft adjacent work, and there's some kind of licensing problem with him, which is why in that Doctor Strange movie there's that guy that looked like Shuma, but he had some other name. Regardless of that, though, the green they went with for him, it's really nice. They went with so many different shades to make up the overall thing that you have this nice gradient of green flavors across his body, and it makes him pop visually. The main green, the highlight green, kind of reminds me of key lime pie. And then when you get back to the dark green, you kind of almost have a sagey kind of reminds me of some oregano or something, some Italian seasoning. The pink eye is just the perfect finish on top. It's a great skin. He looks good. Same thing on this red one. It's like a good marinara sauce. You have a nice kind of sandy red up front, and as you progress through the shades on him, you almost wind up with this purpley kind of magenta red color on the back. And just like the green, it makes him look very striking. He pops out at you. I don't mean to keep repeating myself, but the color layouts they did on Shuma are just perfect. It's something that I love about the art from Capcom during this era. Something here like gray that could easily be boring. They've chosen these nice warm shades, and they almost progress to a dark, almost peach color by the time you get to his darkest shade. And, again, it makes him pop, a color that could have otherwise been very boring. And I think the purple eye with the blue highlight there, or the very light purpley blue highlight, adds a nice splash of color, and it contrasts nicely against the kind of warm gray colors. This pink was his default in the game Marvel Superheroes, and I do think that he's been depicted as a fleshy pink color before, but never hot neon pink like this. But the reason they did that in that game is Hulk was a big green character, and they wanted to visually separate him from him, so they made him this pink. And I don't know, I think it's a great choice. It's probably his second most recognizable or most recognizable color, I'm not sure. But either way, it's a great addition. This collection of dark purples and dark navy blues is a really nice one for him. He doesn't really have too many dark colors, or any at all. I think this is the only one, so it's a nice bit of variety there. And for, you know, a color approximating like black, it is very vibrant, and, you know, it has that kind of otherworldly purple kind of mystic nature to it, which is perfect for Shuma. The powdered blue looks so classy, and I don't know why. I think somehow it's the color of blue they've chosen almost has like a tinge of yellow to it, and I don't even know how, but it's like a warm blue. And it's got like a, you know, on the shading back there, it kind of fades to this nice purple, and it really sells that illusion of like dust being in the air and sort of bluing up things in the distance. But, you know, it's a really tasteful blue. I feel like you could have gone nuts with it, but this is very like, it's like, you know, it's like powdered blue. It's like that fucking guitar the Weezer guy had during the Blue album. And the pinkish red salmon colored eye is just the perfect element to finish it off. This it's classy, I'm gonna say. This is one classy little guy. With absolutely no doubts in my mind, I am putting Shuma straight in S. I knew he would be there even before I looked at a single character. I just knew it. Well, let me tell you, when they were making Silver Samurai, they certainly adhered to the silver part of his name. Starting out with this silver, this one has a nice teal as the kind of darker shades of it, and it makes the silver look very pristine and almost like it's made out of some fantastical metal that like doesn't exist in our world. It's so shiny and pure, and he looks cool. I'll give him that. Okay, and for this silver, they've used sort of a navy bluish gray to shade in the darker parts. And it feels like a more straight silver. It's a little less fantastical this time around, but it's still pristine and shiny and nice. Feels like this just as well could have been the default. It's not bad, but it's also not that different. Okay, and for this silver, we have black, which, look, it's fucking cool. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I don't like this. He looks like a obsidian, like, evil Dark Knight or something. And you know what? It's a different color than silver, so it gets a million extra credits for that. Alright, now for this silver, we have a sort of reddish, grayish color for the shading, which makes him look a little more fire and brimstone-y, makes him seem a little less pristine and a little more rustic or something. It's okay, you know, I don't know, I feel like I like it less than the blue and the teal. This silver is kind of like gold if you use your imagination, maybe like an light almond color, light almondy silver. It's definitely warmer than the others, which is sort of like variety, but it is still just an off-white at the end of the day. So, I don't know. And then lastly, this silver is the most straightforward silver of them all. They've just gone with dark gray as the shading. The twist this time, though, is this motherfucker is sunburnt as fuck. Look at that face. Look, let's just not even piss around. He's going in D. I like Sansan. She's a cute character. She's got a good design, and they made her for this game. She was based on a character from Sansan, the arcade game, which is based on Journey to the West, which is what like Dragon Ball is based on and shit. You know, the cloud and the big extendo dick pole and the fucking Monkey King and all that. As for the red, it looks really nice. It fits well with the kind of reddish brown of her fur, and the yellow is a nice accent. It's a very good, you know, default color. Usually I'm all for green, but not this time. Something about the color they chose here reminds me of like a leprechaun, and because of the way her pixels are laid out, the darkest color around like her tail and head, which should be like a dark red or a dark brown or something, it's like a dark green. It looks fucking weird. This pink one's good, and I think it's because it's like a little understated or subtle. It's not hot pink, but it kind of feels like it is at the same time. I don't know, it looks classy, and the dark pink being the like border color isn't a problem like it was with the dark green, so I think this one's nice. This yellow is everything I would hope for in a yellow, and I like it because they've chosen kind of like an orange color as the shading, and even the primary like highlight yellow is even just a tinge orange, and it just looks really rich and nice, and it reminds me of Kitangu for all my Bionicle heads out there. Wow, this is a nice blue. I really like the shades they've gone with here, and they've alleviated the weird, like, edge pixel problem by making her fur kind of purpled up. It sort of reminds me of, like, those gas station blueberry muffins, and the blueberry kind of, like, bleeds into the muffin dough, and it turns a weird kind of, you know, a shade like that. This kind of plum one might be her best color, I don't know, but I really like this kind of velvety purple they've given her. I don't think anybody else on the roster has anything kind of approximating that, and it just looks really great on her sprite, the way the white line work and her like sleeves and her collar kind of break everything up. Of course, the darker yellow really looks nice against the purple, and they've kind of made her darker overall, her like hair and skin and stuff, and it's a really good color. I think all of Sansan's colors are pleasant at the very least. A lot of them are really good, and I think overall that kind of lands her in B for me. I love Capcom Spider-Man. I love that he's orange and light-ass blue. I know that it's literally orange, but my brain reads it as like this hyper red color, and this color on him is, you know, he's full of energy, he's full of vibrance. It's perfect. And look, for the people that don't like the orange, here's a more comic accurate Spider-Man, which like it looks good on him, but I don't find it to be very exciting, I guess. There's nothing wrong with it by any means, but I just kind of prefer the default. I don't know, I think it's better. This is IHOP Blueberry Syrup Spider-Man. They just poured it all over him, and I don't like it. I understand, based on the colors he has, Marvel probably cracked down on what they could color him into for like recognizability or brand shit, but you know, I get it. Like, if you're gonna go some directions with red and blue, you go more orange, you go more blue. It looks weird. I don't like it. The blue was wrong. This one is much better. It's his alt from Marvel 1, and I've always liked this one. The kind of navy dark blue really looks nice against the really bright kind of orangey red, and it's a great Spider-Man look. This is Stinky Spider-Man. I don't like this one. It just reads so weird to me. I like the grayish kind of blue color. It could have been cool, but it's paired with the foulest bunches of orange I've ever seen. And it comes together to just make him look like garbage. I know Magus Old likes playing this color, you know, good for him, but This one is just the default with a darker blue color, and I don't know, it looks a little off-brand to me. It's not my favorite, and I feel like they're all redundant, but like to get to here, to get to this point and see this, it feels especially redundant at the very end here like this. And yeah, unfortunately, as much as I love old Penis Parker, I'm gonna have to park him in D, because his colors are shit. Spiral is such a visually interesting character. I mean, her silhouette is like instantly identifiable because of her weird 6 arms and the way she stands and animates. But as far as colors, I love her default. This blue is really great. I love how they've used purples as the kind of darker shaded colors. And the green fringe on the boots really, I don't know why, I love it. It pulls it all together. But the way she's kind of laid out is great. You have her flesh tone and her silver kind of on her arms and her head up top, and then her body is a nice blue, and you got that green like fringe on the boots to really like highlight where her feet are. And she's a great looking sprite. I love this color. I think this color is fantastic. It's not just because it's green, but it's an excellent shade of green they chose. The highlights are such a nice lime, and it kind of works its way down through more of a bluey green into almost this kind of purple on the fringe. And that is because the metal parts of her armor now have kind of a reddish purplish tinge to them. And as we know, you look at the color wheel, that shit's opposite, so it pops, stands out really good, and yeah, this is a great color scheme for a character as kind of weird and mysterious and mystical as Spiral. This one is a really pale blue, but it reads to me like silver, like different shades of silver, and I think that's really a nice look for her too, as this sort of dimensional warping, I don't know, mystic, I guess. What's nice though is even though it's kind of a monochromatic color scheme, you have some differentiation between the segments. The nice little tufts of fur are a nice separate color. They're just a little bit warmer, and then her bodysuit is kind of a darker color, and then you have a nice kind of, light purpley blue, just classic colors to represent silver there, and it looks really clean. This color feels very much like a 2-player color, and what I mean by that is, it's just slight variances from the default to make it different enough but still very recognizable. So now you have the yellow kind of fringe on the boots, and the metally bits are kind of more of a warm kind of yellowy brownish color on the darker parts, and the blue's a little more saturated, I guess. It doesn't look bad by any means, but it's not very exciting, I guess, and it's very similar to the default, so I feel like it's just alright. Purple is such a good visual shorthand for something mystical or otherworldly or alien in nature, and I think all those words fit Spiral pretty well, and she looks fucking great in purple. And just like that silver one, I feel like there's enough visual distinction between the different purples that you don't lose the details of her character. She stands out very well, even in this kind of all purple getup, and I think it's real fucking nice. This kind of darker one is really nice in that aspect, but I feel like the kind of gray color they went with it's not bad, but I don't know. It doesn't quite come together for me, and it's maybe I would have wanted a different color on the like little boot frock things. Maybe that could have sold me on it, the right color there. But as it stands, I definitely don't dislike it, but I think it's more of in the like decent-ish kind of zone. The colors that I like on Spiral, I like so much that I think they more than make up for the ones that I don't even really dislike any of her colors. I'm just a little more lukewarm on them. But I think even with that in mind, I'm comfortable putting her in A. I think a lot of people, when they look at this Storm costume, this is what they think is Storm. Like, this is the default Storm. And I tend to agree, although, my personal preference is the Mohawk costume. I like that one a lot. But this one's interesting in that I've seen it debated, if it's supposed to be black or white or silver or whatever. And as far as I understand, it's been depicted as all three of those colors. And maybe could be interpreted as some of them, depending on how it's drawn. But here in Marvel, I think it's pretty good. I think the gray she kind of has in this color scheme is kind of unique to her. Nobody really has this kind of set of grays, but I'm not the biggest fan of them. I kind of wish that the grays were darker to make the contrast stand out more, or there's some blue or something to them. You'll see what I mean when we start looking at our alt colors. They just have, I don't know, more visual intrigue, I feel, but this one is still not bad by any means. I like how light of pink they've chosen here, and the shade for the darker color, that almost kind of like dark mauve, like almost plumish kind of color. It creates a nice visual distinction between the kind of lighter and darker areas. And it's a very tasteful kind of pink overall, and I think it looks great on her. See, this is exactly what I was talking about with the default. You add some purple in there, oh my god, this looks so much cooler. The way they've kind of gone with a super light gray and it melts down through this kind of bluish gray into this dark, like rich purple, and they've added sort of a more gold color instead of a more straight yellow for the trim and stuff. It's just so much more dynamic. It's NES Batman Storm, that's kind of what this is. It's excellent. Gold is an excellent choice for, an alt for Storm. It was her alt in X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and it looked good there, and it looks good here. I think the yellows they've chosen to make up the gold are very interesting and visually striking, and they come together to make a really good-looking color. Again, with this one, it just feels like a better version of the default. I know it's green, which is nothing like gray, but that's kind of my point. It's like, just to see the colors splashed on there, it makes the gray feel a little more drab, in my opinion. But this is a great collection of greens. I love how drastic you go from how pale of a green you start with in the highlights to how dark of a green you get to in the darkest shading there. And it's, I've said dynamic a lot, but it really is. It makes her look really three-dimensional and just visually interesting, It's a great color. This one stands apart in that they've let this one be so much more saturated than the others, and it's great to see her in this like rich purple. It's a very royal, regal purple, and I love the kind of almost pink, like lilac-ish color in the highlights of it. She looks really cool in this purple. Storm has some really nice colors and some really excellent ones too. There's a lot of variety on offer here and not a lot of ones that feel like repeats of each other, or really any that do, I feel like. And so for that, I think A is an obvious place for her. Strider's a very rule of cool character, right? He's just very visually cool looking, and he's got all the elements that you'd want in your cool ninja guy. And, his color scheme, it's surprisingly original, I think, for that archetype. It's a really light, nice purple and that red scarf, with the bits of white. It's a really unique and good color scheme. I think, he's starting off strong. This one is really strange too, but it really works for me. They've subtly made his armbands and his hair just a little more red, and it plays off that green really well. I love the shade of green they've gone with here. It's very utilitarian, but it's still kind of flashy. And then orange for the scarf is just such a wild card pick, and it almost feels a little off in a way, but that's kind of what makes it work for me. It's such a strange choice that I kind of love it. Holy shit, this one's edgy. Look, his eyes are even red. I mean, that is a byproduct of changing the arm wrappings and the belt and stuff. I guess that color is tied to his eyes. But, you know, for an Edgeo costume, this one's done very, very well. I like this a lot. They've gone for a very sort of bluish gray on the bodysuit and this kind of almost canvas colored scarf, which, you know, you got the warm and the kind of cool thing playing off each other. And both of those really prop up the very stark red color. And it just comes together and it looks really cool for one of these type of color schemes, which I think easily can look like shit, but they've balanced the colors excellently here. This, well, you gotta pick this too. You're gonna pick the ninja guy and you're not gonna pick the color where he's got red fucking eyes. The most edge you could possibly have. This kind of tannish one was his alt from Marvel 1, and for the type of character he is, I think it fits perfectly. It's, you know, he's kind of a ninja martial artist type guy, and, you know, it kind of feels like a karate-gi or something like that. And it might also be a reference to the villain from, I think, his game. I've never played Strider, the original or the, like, 2014 one or whatever the fuck that was. But it's this dude, Strider Hien. He wears white, and he's kind of a ninja guy like Strider is, so it might be in reference to that, although his costume is a lot, like, cleaner of a white, and this is more of like a tan, so it could just be a color choice. But regardless, it's a pretty good one. This one is another really odd choice that I like a ton. It's almost like a volcanic kind of red, and this is a weird poll, but it reminds me of Smash 64. There's like a Samus color that's kind of like this, and I always like that. But yeah, regardless, these nice earthy reds wouldn't have been probably your first assumption when you thought of alternate colors for Strider, but it suits him really well, and paired with the kind of harsh orange color, it gives the whole thing this really blunt, weighty kind of feel to it, and I like this color a ton. This one's just cool. There is no denying. That is a, like, race car ass red. That is so bright. The highlight color they've chosen, and they've gone with something more subtle for the shading. It looks very, very eye-catching, and the white scarf is just the coolest color they could have gone with. He looks very active and fast and just cool. I mean, rule of cool, right? It's a great skin. Strider doesn't waste any colors on repetitive shit or anything ugly. Every single one is pretty fucking good to incredibly good, and so for that, he's going an S. It seems like people that don't play this game often or at all, they're always surprised to see Thanos is in the game. And, you know, it's probably something to do with, like, the cultural zeitgeist where he is now since the, like, Marvel movies and Endgame and shit. But before that, nobody outside of, like, nerds knew who this guy was or cared. But he was in Marvel Superheroes. That was the only game he was ever in besides Marvel 2. Well, I like, you know, up till this point, he's in future games, but they actually redrew some stuff and added some new animations to him for this one, which is cool, but I still can't help feeling like he's a little undercooked. Like, he always seemed that way. Something about his sprites just feel like they didn't have that final layer of polish or that once-over that the other characters had at the end to make sure everything was kind of prim and proper. There's just something that feels a little more two-dimensional about him or something, but the colors they've gone with him, they're nice. It's a nice, soft, purpley blue, and his yellows on his costume are more like oranges, and they remind me of like a nice soft cheddar or something. They look nice, you know? He looks nice. The problem with Thanos in this game, though, is that he looks like a printing test. Like, all his colors are just the slightest variance on the same color, and as we can see here, they just blued him. He's been blued. This one I will throw a bone to. This is Purpelius. They've made him super duper purple, which I can approve of. I can get behind this. It almost feels like a different color, even if it's kind of slightly leaning harder into purple than blue, and everything else is basically the same. This one, I guess you could say, is a little more accurate to his comic depiction, depending on what, like, era of comics you're looking at, but the very bright yellow feels a little more old school. And it doesn't look bad by any means. I almost prefer it to the default, actually, but again, it's just sort of a similar take on the blue and yellow, you know? Now, they have cranked up the saturation on the orange, and that's about all that's different, and I think it looks bad. And this is lesser Purpelius. They've just darkened up the orange on the purple one, and the contrast is lessened, and it looks uglier overall, I think, for it. And so probably to no one's surprise, he's going in D. It's just Colossus all over again. I don't know what the problem was with coloring him differently, but apparently it was not cool to do. I feel like I should love Tronbon because I like characters that pilot little robots. And her as a character, her personality is antagonistic in kind of a fun, cheeky way. She's sort of like the Team Rocket, I guess, equivalent. In the game she's from, not exactly the main antagonist, but more of like a side antagonist used for like comic relief. And I don't know, she's fun or whatever, but something about her in this game, when you pick her up and play her, it's just kind of like, That said, they drew her very nicely. I love the way she animates and all the different weird stuff that comes out of the mech as you attack. And they've gone with a nice shade of green that feels very metallic and utilitarian. The burnt kind of orange complements that as well. It feels like a little cartoony robot should. I think they did a good job. This is a really nice shade of blue. It's a little easier on the eyes than the green too, and from going from the orange to this kind of yellow, I approve of as well. I think this is a really nice choice for her. This one isn't too different from the last one. It's black now instead of blue, and it's more of a kind of darker gold than a yellow, but I think it's nice. It's an appropriate color scheme for a robotic character like this. You want like a dark, kind of heavy gunmetal version of the character, and I think this is a good combination of colors for that sort of thing. This combination of pinks nails the concept perfectly somehow. It still feels like heavy machinery, but pink. And I think making the accents gray to really emphasize that sort of metallic nature is part of selling that, but it looks good. It's somehow like cute and also kind of industrial at the same time. So I think it's perfect for that. They've gone very militaristic on this one, almost like a tank color scheme, which is, very fitting and I like. But instead of making it just drab like a real tank, they've gone with some really nice shades of green to still have some vibrancy in there. You can see the lightest shade of green is like this nice olive, and then the second shade down, it's a lot more like blue and almost approaching almost a teal. It's still very green, and then as you get into the darker shades, it becomes an even richer shade of green. And it creates a really nice gradient across the robot, and of course the brown accents just fit the theme perfectly, and they look good. It's a good shade of brown on there. This one feels a little more like the Barbie toy version of the mech. Not that I dislike it, but this is a much, much daintier shade of pink. And they've gone with silver again, but again, it's lighter and it's tinged a little pink itself. Overall making this mech feel a lot more light and fun and plasticky, which, I don't think is a bad thing necessarily, although it is kind of strange that there's like two pink colors, right? Not that either are bad or anything, but I don't know. I'm a little torn on Tron. I kind of want to put her in A because all the colors are very good, but I feel like the variety is slightly lacking with the two pinks, and the blue and black are different enough, but are sort of similar in a lot of ways. And so I feel like B is where I'm going to put her, but it's at like the very tippy top of B. It was so close to A. Venom is the character that made me want to play this game. The way he animates and the way he's drawn, he looks so fucking nuts in these games. Unfortunately, I don't like his playstyle a ton, although he's kind of fun to fuck around with. But as far as his colors go, I love blue-ass, sky blue Capcom Venom. I think it looks great. I know in the comics he's depicted as black, and a lot of times the way they'll do that is they'll have the highlights be blue, so that you're not just looking at like a blob of black ink on the paper and that there's some musculature and depth and things to him. But for whatever reason, that translated into this like sky blue in Capcom's eye. And I don't even give a shit that it's technically wrong. Like, I think he looks fucking awesome. And I think if you extrapolate the way Spider-Man's drawn, it kind of makes sense that he would be this weird color of blue since Spider-Man himself is so cranked up in saturation in these games. I think it's excellent. Oh, Mustard Venom. This one is fucking great too, and it's about how they've laid out all the colors across him. Because he is one color, he is all the same color head to toe, save for the logo and the eyes and stuff. They had the budget to put several colors across his body, and because of that, you just have such a nice like cascading of light across him. And you have all these different shades to play with, and they've chosen some just excellent yellows and oranges that make him look like he's golden, cheesy goodness. It's also possible, too, that this costume color is a reference to the character Phage, who's another symbiote guy, or it could just be yellow, I don't know. Either way, it's excellent. This fucking purple, man. This is the best purple in the game, hands down. And again, It's almost unfair because he's got so many purples to work with to make up his purple, but it just looks so good. The under highlights on his like bicep and his thighs being that highlight, that light lilac, and the dark plum on the shading. Excellent choices of purples all around. I love this one. And it's possible too that this is a reference to Agony, who's another symbiote chick. But again, it could just be purple. Either way, it's incredible. This darker blue is his alt from Marvel 1, and normally I wouldn't like repeat colors like this, but here it kind of feels like they're throwing you a bone if you wanted a slightly more comic accurate version of Venom. Because, well, he still is blue here. This reads a lot closer to black or how he's depicted in other media. And, you know, it seems like an obvious choice to give that as an option if you're going to make him crazy sky blue by default. And it looks really nice on him. It's another great choice. The fucking green. It's as good as the purple. It's like, is it the best green in the game? I don't know, but it's an excellent collection of greens. I love all the different shades. You got the minty green on the highlight. It moves through more of a neutral green into a forest kind of green. The only maybe slight miss is that I wish they changed his spittle to like maybe a different color than green, but I don't even care. It's a lime green, so it still stands out just fine. And this is another just incredibly good looking color. And again, I feel inclined to mention it might be a reference to Lasher, who's again another symbiote guy, or, you know, could just be green. This one is like a very pale purple or pink, but I think it's meant to read like gray, and it does read like gray. But the choice to add that little bit of pink in there and that little bit of like red shading to the darker colors, again, it just makes him very dynamic and vibrant, and he pops off the screen, as opposed to maybe how a more standard gray color could have looked. This could be a reference to Riot, who again is some other symbiote guy, or it could just be a grayish color. This one's also really fucking nice. Before I started even a single drop of work on this video, I knew that Venom was going in S tier. I love all his colors so much. They're all individually so good and different and vibrant. I wish every character had a spread of colors like Venom. It would have been glorious. War Machine, aka the cooler Iron Man. Story goes, in Marvel 1, they didn't have the rights to Iron Man because I think Acclaim had it, so they just took their Iron Man sprite from Marvel superheroes and recolored him into War Machine, who is supposed to be black and gray, but they didn't do that because Capcom isn't boring like that, and instead, they chose this super light, like cyan color to represent the silvery gray parts of him, and even the black color is kind of a little bit reddish if you look at it, some of the darker parts. They got a little bit of red in there. And it takes what would have been a very literally black and white character and makes him just pop off the screen. Some people think the cyan is weird. I agree, it is a very weird choice, but if you look at it and you imagine those parts as supposed to be this like incredibly pristine futuristic silver, it kind of starts to make sense, and it looks really fucking cool. I love this green color, and I think it's because it kind of scratches that paramilitary flying tank sort of angle of War Machine without being too drab or utilitarian, I guess. It has a nice element of blue, even in the more kind of grayish olive colors of the legs and the upper shoulders. And then to offset that, you have that nice like key lime pie yogurt light green on the other parts. And together it keeps it from looking like something off an assembly line, and it still feels like this futuristic, highly sophisticated, one-of-a-kind armor set. And it's really fucking good. It's like, it might be my favorite. This color is probably the weirdest one he has, but I really enjoy how out there it is. I mean, the super dark grayish teal is a really cool choice, and that alone kind of makes me think of this being sort of like a diving suit variant or something of his armor, or like meant to use in like swamps or some shit like that. But the goldish kind of peach color really throws it into a whole different territory. It feels, again, very alien. It feels like this suit did not come from Earth, like this is some weird shit from beyond the stars. And I don't know if this is a reference to anything he's ever worn. I've never seen anything like it, but it's a really cool and unique color that he has. This is his alt from Marvel 1, and I've always loved this one. It just looks so slick and heroic to me. The blue on light blue, it looks like the sky. It feels like he should be up there flying. It feels so technologically advanced and efficient and just cool. It's just a great color. It's a great combination of blues. And it's possible it's a reference to Mega Man. I'm not sure, but it kind of does have that element to it, which is nice. Even though this blue is very similar to the last blue we saw, it is a lot more navy and sort of desaturated, which gives it a more heavy kind of pedestrian appearance. This feels like an Enforcer version of War Machine or something, which is a cool angle. Even if I do wish something maybe a little different colored was here, I still really like this color a lot. And if you were looking for a more comic-accurate War Machine, the actual grayscale version of his costume, that's here too, and it looks really nice on this sprite, these colors. Of course, it's not perfectly just gray. They've added just a little bit of like a purplish kind of hue to the lighter gray parts just to breathe kind of some visual life into this. And I think this is an excellent choice. I would say it's almost better than the default if you're looking for like a War Machine representation, but it's hard to compare because the default to me is almost like its own thing. That's like Capcom War Machine, you know? But overall, solid ass choice. Even with the two similar blue colors, I feel like every color he has is really good, if not excellent, and they all represent what he's about. They feel like a heavier, more militant version of Iron Man. And I'm putting him in S. I think he's that good. Finally down to good old Wolverine, and I feel like these exact colors I saw on like kids' birthday balloons and shit a million years ago. They nailed Wolverine from the 90s. The yellow is spot on, and the blue is maybe a shade lighter, but only just a hair lighter than what it was kind of represented as at the time. And yeah, that's a good looking Wolverine. What can I say? This is not a huge change, but the icy blue they've gone with I think is more visually interesting than the default color. It's less harsh in that regard, and it's a nice looking blue in its own right. Still, I wish they would have maybe made the yellow a little more different than it is. It is slightly different, but it's barely noticeable. This is Wolverine. He's a different guy, at least in my mind. No, it's nice to see Wolverine in some weird-ass color. I usually pick this one when I play this Wolverine, just because it's so different from all the other choices you have. In my head, I like to imagine this is some version of Wolverine that works for Hydra, just because the color scheme matches. But cool color to have. I'm always happy to have variety, and this green is a really interesting shade to pair with the yellow, which they have darkened up. It's still a yellow, but at least it's darker. It's almost approaching a little more of an orange in some of the shading, and I think that plays off the green nicely. This is a great color. This is his alt from Marvel 1, and I've always felt so weird about this one. Like, on one hand, I fucking hate it. I think that is a ugly-ass tan, and to pair it with that yellow is just fucked. But then, on the other side, I look at that tan, and I'm like, that's like a weird, like, light, almondy bronze. Not bronze, like a brass almost? Like an old Durango from, like, the 2000s or something. And it pairs with that like kind of like harsh construction-y orange yellow and the blue on the belt, and I kind of come full all the way back around, and I end up kind of liking it because it is so weird, and I think that's where I stand with it. I think I do like this one, even though it is kind of ugly and strange. This one is hardly different from the default. Yes, the yellow is a little darker, a little more orange, and the light blue is now a little more cyan, just a bit brighter. And it looks okay. I mean, that looks like Wolverine, but it looks a little messed up, and it's just kind of like, you know, I wish there was something a little different here than just a very slight take on the default. And again, this one's not very different, but at least it's purple now instead of a blue, which is blue adjacent, but it's different enough, especially with what's on offer, that I'll kind of let it slide. I like this one quite a bit. Obviously, purple and yellow are opposites, so they look nice together. And on Wolverine, it's no exception, although it is kind of weird seeing him in purple. It feels like this is an imposter or something of him. But nonetheless, it's a good color. Wolverine has some nice stuff, but too much of it is just yellow and blue or yellow and blue adjacent. I mean, even with Wolverine doing some heavy lifting, I don't think I can put Wolverine higher than C just because of the repetition. Okay, and up next we have Wolverine again. That's not an editing mistake. If you don't know, there are two Wolverines in this game. It's a long story, but basically, I think what happened is there was some mandate from Marvel that they wanted the current version of Wolverine in the game, and at that time he had no metal on his skeleton anymore, so he just had bone claws and regular bones, and that's because the villain Strawzor sucked out all his adamantium using his big vibranium mosquito nose. And so for a while there, Wolverine was running around without his metal. And so that's what this is about. He did look different in the comics. They gave him a new costume, but I guess Capcom was like, fuck that, we're not drawing Wolverine again. And so they just gave him longer, kind of more tan claws to represent his current situation at the time. As for how I feel about the color, the exact same as the other Wolverine. You know, adding tan claws doesn't really change my thoughts. This is what that tan alt, I think, was supposed to be more like. This is kind of like his yellow and brown costume from the comics, and while this isn't my favorite shade of brown, I totally understand why it's such a bright one. This is Capcom after all, so it would make sense that they would do very, very bright versions of these colors, and in that regard, I don't think it looks bad at all necessarily, but it's not my favorite brown to pair with Wolverine. This midnight blue is really nice. I think it's a happy medium between going full black or blue color. You have this kind of nice, very deep blue, and it looks great contrasted against this kind of orangey yellow. Again, we're still dealing with yellows and blues, but in that sort of ballpark, this is a pretty standout blue, I would say. And again, we have his alt from Marvel 1. I still feel the same about this one, so I'm not entirely sure what to say. Although, I guess having the tan claws makes me like it slightly less, because at least with the blue shading on the metallic claws, you sort of had some nice contrast, whereas this version, the claws and the gloves kind of just meld together, and I don't like that. This is his alt color from Marvel Superheroes, and I always loved this one. I mean, yellow and black is a pretty common color combination for the X-Men, and, you know, it looks good on Wolverine. He's already got some black on his costume, so it's nice that they went with more of a gray color to keep that distinction between those areas, but yellow and black, it looks fucking cool. I think of interpretation of the yellow and brown, this is kind of a more interesting color choice because the brown is almost like wine or purple colored. It's got some complexity to it. It almost reminds me of like a deep, winey kind of mushroom sauce or something. And it's a really strange kind of complex choice for a character like Wolverine. And I think it looks nice against the kind of darker yellow here. Again, not my favorite color, but pretty interesting for what it is. That all said, though, I think of the two Wolverines, Bone Wolverine's colors are kind of weaker overall. Outside the yellow and black, none of them really stand out to me as anything that interesting, and so I'm gonna put them in D. Okay, and finally at the very end with Zangief, who, you know, I always liked his alpha sprites, which is what these are, and, you know, red is like the quintessential Geef color. It's almost impossible to rate it. It's so iconic and inseparable from Geef. But we can talk about his mech Geef color in this color, which Geef can transform into a mechanical version of himself that has no ability to block but infinite hyper armor, so he can just tank through every hit, but he can't stop anything by blocking it. But as far as the color goes, it's not my favorite of the mecha Geefs. It is a little weird that they've gone with like a purplish pinkish for the gray color. It kind of makes him look more like a zombie and less like a machine, but it's alright. I think Pink Geef is great. I put him on the thumbnail, after all, but it's just kind of a more fun party-in version of Geef. And I like how they've replaced the white little armbands and like laces on his boots with yellow. It's just a further way to separate him a little bit. And they've kind of like pinked up his flesh tone to make him look like a big pig, which is fun. So I like Pink Geef. I don't like Pink Mecha Geef, though. I think he looks like a mistake. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with these colors, but they're really weird on him. I really like this Geef color. I love the contrast between the darker skin tone and the white, like, clothing. They've also kind of gone for, like, a cooler tone on the skin color, which makes the whitish gray on his clothes just kind of pop that much more, and it looks really classy and, like, clean. This is a cool Geef color. Even the Mecha Geef on this one is pretty nice. The green doesn't necessarily make you think of a robot, but it makes me think of Frankenstein. And for the concept, I think that fits just as well, maybe even better. But the green stands out nicely against the red, and they've chosen some really sickly kind of Halloween-y kind of greens. Blue isn't one of my more favorite pedestrian Geef colors, but I understand why it's here. I do think it's a great counterpoint to the red one, but the cool color I feel like does not exactly fit his personality as well as something else maybe. But it looks good, I can't deny that. On the opposite of that, though, I actually think the Mecha Geef is way better than the default one. I think the blue tones suit the more metal body thing a lot better, and giving him like the gray clothes with the red accents looks a lot more mechanical and menacing. So it's kind of an inverse in that way. See, perfect example, I feel like the black fits Geef a little better than the blue does. It's a little more of an imposing sort of color, which I feel like he's kind of an imposing character. I like what they've done here. Seems like he's gotten a little bit of a tan to kind of suit the overall darker thing they're going with here. But I am not into this Mecha Geef. A golden Mecha Geef could have been really cool, and as far as the boots and the belts and things, the red and the gray they've gone with is actually really nice. I just don't like this sickly yellow-green, like split pea soup color they went with. It should have either been green or gold, in my opinion, not this weird in-between thing. Cheddar Geef. This one I feel like should be as iconic as Mango Sentinel, if it's not, but it's exactly the same as the one where he's got the white trunks, but now they're this very vibrant orangey yellow color, and I feel like while the one with the white trunks is more like business attire or something, it's a little more serious, the yellow one is a lot more casual and like vibrant, and I don't know, it's a great Geef color. As for the Mecha Geef color, though, it's not bad. The very dark navy blues and things, you know, it's an interesting choice. I don't know how well it sells the Mecha Geef vibe, but again, he does kind of look like a big zombie, so maybe that's close enough. It's a little tough with Geef because I've seen even these exact same set of sprites in some different colors that I really wish would have made it to Marvel 2. But as it stands, the colors he does have available are all different and interesting in their own regard. And they're all good to great. And so I think it's easy to put them in A. That feels right.